all about fish oil. Fish oil and omega-3 fats. We could talk for hours about this. There's so many wonderful books written on the subject. I'm going to break it down to keep it really simple. Here's what we're going to cover. 4 things. 1, why should you consider taking omega-3 fish oil supplements? Number 2 is I want to talk about the omega-6, omega-3 fat ratio. Don't worry about the complexity there. I'll keep it really simple. That's going to be number 2. Number 3 is how much to take, which ones to take, and how to read a label. That's really important. Once you decide that you're going to take some, you need to know that. And I talk about this in my office, and we've been doing this for over 20 years. And last, the results. I'm just going to cover some people that have noticed results when they're taking these omega-3 fish oil supplements. Okay, that's what we're going to cover. Let's do this. We'll keep it really simple. First off, why? Why should you consider taking omega-3 fish oil supplements? I have quite a list of reasons why. As we get into this, omega-3 fats, we'll consider those the good fats, okay? Where omega-6 fats, I'm going to call the bad fats, but they're not really bad. It's just that we don't want too many omega-6 and too few omega-3. More on that in a moment. Omega-3 fats are in every membrane of every cell in your body. Therefore, if you have a deficiency, you can cause essentially any problem, any physiological issue that you can describe can be at least linked in some form or fashion to a deficiency in omega-3s. Okay? Here's the list. Medical research and my experience has shown fish oil to be helpful for ADD and ADHD, OCD, autism, Tourette's, bipolar, dyslexia, dyspraxia, lowered aggression, depression, postpartum depression, schizophrenia, age-related cognitive decline, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, acute and chronic pain, post-concussion problems, mild traumatic brain injury, Alzheimer's disease, and other dementias. So that's a pretty big list of things which continues. Fish oil may reduce your risk of sudden cardiac death by as much as 50 to 80%. Lower triglycerides, that's a good thing. Reduce inflammation, which can lead to a whole host of things, including arthritis, and may help prevent some cancers, reduce some cancers. Omega-3s help build the brain and synapses and have been shown to help multiple sclerosis. I've seen that myself firsthand. Rheumatoid arthritis, I've also seen that firsthand. Colitis, psoriasis, asthma, type 1 and type 2 diabetes, organ transplant function and survival, improved kidney function, learning, visual acuity, increased energy, and strengthen the immune system. That's a whole bunch of beautiful reasons that you want to think about not only taking omega-3 fats from fish oil, but why you want to consider looking at that ratio. More on that in a moment. The next thing I want to mention to you is from Dr. Mark Hyman. He wrote many things, but this is his great book, Eat Fat, Get Thin. And in this book, page 122, he's talking about Dr. Philip Calder, a scientist at University of Southampton, published an analysis of the recommendations on linoleic acid. Now, linoleic acid, or LA, is if you consider it an omega-6 fat, and it's a fat that you don't want to have too much of. You get it from all the warm weather oils, not the good ones. He warned while linoleic acid lowers LDL, it also makes cholesterol more vulnerable to oxidation and inflammation. When you oxidize, cholesterol is not the problem. We're going to be doing another 10,000 shows on that. Cholesterol is not the problem. Oxidized cholesterol is the problem. It can lead to atherosclerosis or cholesterol deposit in the arteries. It also promotes cancer. So too much of the bad fats promotes cancer. Too few of the good fats promotes cancer. There's reason to be cautious about high intake of omega-6 fats. We recommend the proportion, they get into proportions too much for now. But we should consume them in moderation. That includes arachidonic acid, which is pro-inflammatory. Think of all the animal oils that contain animal fats that are arachidonic acid. Perhaps more importantly, as an antagonist of omega-3s. When you have too many omega-6s, it shuts down the function of omega-3s. Too few omega-3s, that allow the activity of the omega-6s to go up. All of that is bad. Okay, how excess omega-6 fats affect our health in this book. Dr. Joseph Hilborn from the National Institutes of Health researched the impacts of omega-6 oils. These omega-6 oils are the ones that are just ubiquitous in our diets, in our processed foods, and everything with a package. Soybean, cottonseed, vegetable oils, corn oil, safflower oil, all of those, all of the other oils, which I believe, in my opinion, should be completely out of your diet. Those are the omega-6. So too many omega-6s and underconsumption of omega-3s lead to cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, obesity, metabolic syndrome and prediabetes, irritable bowel and inflammatory bowel diseases, macular degeneration, rheumatoid arthritis, asthma, cancer, psychiatric disorders, and autoimmune diseases. Again, we're covering most of the stuff that afflicts us, right? This is really interesting out of Dr. Mark Hyman's book. This is really interesting. They found that an increase in LA, linoleic acid, the omega-6 fat, mostly from soybean oil. And as a side note, what do we subsidize hugely in this country as monocrops? Corn and soybean oil. We've increased that in the diet from 1960 to 1999, and in 5 countries studied, predicted a 100-fold increase in the risk of homicide deaths. 100-fold increase because of the increase in consumption of omega-6 fats, which makes your brain go bad. Not only do these vegetable oils result in more heart attacks, obesity, and cancer, but they may make people murderers. That's out of Dr. Hyman's book. Talk about reasons to get our omega-3 fats up. Here's some articles from my colleague, a collection of studies from Dr. Dan Murphy. One long detailed article, 23 pages containing 172 references, touts some of the many health benefits of fish oil. These benefits include positive influences on inflammation, pain, swelling, kidney function, MS, rheumatoid arthritis, psoriasis, autoimmune diseases, cardiovascular disease, organ transplant, asthma, diabetes, inflammatory bowel, hypersensitivity, allergy, non-rheumatoid joint inflammation, arthritis and joint pain. Gene expression, immune cells, gene expression. We're talking epigenetic effects on your DNA expression. Immune cells, fever, arrhythmia, vascular permeability, and edema and others. This is from Philip Calder. Immunoregulatory and anti-inflammatory effects of N3 polyunsaturated fatty acids, wow, meaning omega-3s. And that was out of the Brazilian Journal of Medical and Biological Research in 1998. We've known this stuff for 21 years. He's quoting research from fibromyalgia, allergies, stroke, sudden cardiac death that we mentioned earlier, bipolar disorder and depression. Remember that omega-3s are as good as the common psychiatric medications for depression. Cholesterol and triglycerides improve with more omega-3s. Osteoarthritis gets better. Back pain and disc herniation has been found to be helped by these things. So what are omega-3 fats? Omega-3 fats are part of the PUFA. You don't have to remember that. There are fats. Fats are broken down into categories of saturated fats, unsaturated fats, polyunsaturated fatty acids. There's books and books written about this. You don't remember that. But looking at the polyunsaturated fats is omega-6 and omega-3. Omega-3s are the one that you want. Where do they come from? Well, in nature, algae in water has one omega-3. When small fish eat algae, they convert it into the other omega-3s. So you want the EPA and DHA, eicosapentaenoic acid and docosahexaenoic acid. You don't have to remember those words either. But the reason for that is you're going to see those in your labels. More on that later. Okay? That's why small fatty fish, not big fish, not tuna, not shark, not swordfish, nope, too much mercury and not enough omega-3s. Cold water fish have high amounts of omega-3s because they need to swim in cold water. So that keeps them flexible. The bigger the fish, the less the omega-3s. Okay? So fish oil is you squeeze the fish, you get the oil, and that's where your omega-3s come from. If you're a vegan, then you don't get fish oil necessarily. Then you go get algae oil. Probably a little more difficult to get enough in there, but at least some is better than none. So if you're a strict vegan, that's what you're going to be doing. Okay. Second on our list. So first thing, that's why. Pretty compelling reasons of why you should do that. And by the way, talking about why is, if you're parents-to-be, I think you should be considering at least 6 months of taking in omega-3s. Mom and dad, by the way, dads-to-be, you're not off the hook. We know that omega-3 deficiency affects your contribution during conception. So your genetic material has to be at the highest health possible, so you need to get your health in order as well. It's not just moms to be. Okay, we know, of course, when mom is pregnant, during the pregnancy, that her level of omega-3s will translate over into the growing baby. And then we also know if mom keeps the omega-3s up during breastfeeding, it's going to come through breast milk. Another huge important reason to make sure moms and dads have those levels checked and looked at and so forth. Okay, so number 2 on our list is the omega-6, omega-3 fat ratio. If you will, you don't want too many omega-6 and too few omega-3, okay? It's as simple as that. You can have simple blood tests done. Mostly your medical doctor won't know what to do with this information, so you have to do it on your own. I do it in my office. I've been testing people for 15 years. We prick the finger, we put it on a pad, we send it to a specialty lab, and you get your number back. That number is in a ratio. Let's say 1-to-1. So the turn of last century, 119 years ago, the average person had about a 1-to-1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3. That's very good. Most people agree that here's omega-6, here's omega-3, that if you're 3-to-1 or 4-to-1, you're in the safe zone. That's good. That's good. Your doctor, me, I'm doing pretty well. I'm at 2.2, so I'm doing pretty good. Okay. So 4-to-1 or better is about where you want to be. If you're at 15-to-1, you're definitely at a risk, most people believe, of a chronic problem or disorder. Average American, 25-to-1. We have seen as bad as 70-to-1, and that's when you really get into these very serious psychiatric problems as well. Now, going back to Dr. Hyman's book, every time we hear about these really bad events that happen, mostly in this country, but around the world, the bad events, right? I always wonder, if somebody had checked the omega-6, omega-3 fat ratio of that person that did bad things, and also their vitamin D level. But anyways, that's me. I think about these things. So the omega-6, omega-3 fat ratio, you can get tested. Here's an example of a group of 10 patients. I just picked 10. So here's 10 patients varying from ages 8 to 50. These 10 patients, their average was 19-to-1. Now, that's a small snapshot, but let's say that would be a good representation of the average person. And all of these people were not supplementing with omega-3s prior, so their ratio is not where it needs to be. By the way, the worst person on this list was an 8-year-old girl. 8-year-old, 116 pounds, definitely had serious inflammatory issues going on, and her ratio was 30-to-1. 30-to-1 at age 8. That's really bad, and you best believe we're in consultation not only with dietary change, but omega-3 supplements. And by the way, I always make the comment, you cannot out-supplement your way out of a bad diet. So if you're eating a whole bunch of things that taste good that are really bad for you, you're not going to be able to clean that up by just taking some supplements. No, supplements supplement other good lifestyle choices, including good nutrition. Okay. Another woman at age 46, her ratio was 7-to-1. Pretty not terrible. 7-to-1, pretty good. She supplements with omega-3s for a year. She gets her ratio to 1.9-to-1, so better than 2-to-1. Comes in the good zone, and that's why you can get retested and really see that ratio get better and better. In Dr. Dale Bredesen's book, Dr. Dale Bredesen, medical physician, his book is called The End of Alzheimer's. Great book. Definitely want to read this. The End of Alzheimer's, he not only talks about prevention, but he also talks about, listen, I'm saying this correctly, I'm saying this right, reversing Alzheimer's, okay? He talks about that in here. It's a great program. His recommendation is 0.5 to 3-to-1. So 3-to-1 omega-6, omega-3, or better. 3 to 1 or better, even down to 0.5 is his recommendation. And of course, he recommends taking omega-3 fish oils. Okay, those are the ratios there. And by the way, before I came in, I did a PubMed literature search. Anybody can do this. This is free through the National Libraries of Medicine, National Institutes of Health. It's free to us. We pay for it as part of our government. And you can do a search on there for all the public research articles that exist, basically. And I did just a quick search. I just did omega-3. I didn't do omega-3 in depression. I didn't do omega-3 in Alzheimer's. I didn't do omega-3 in heart disease. I just did omega-3 and I got over 28,000 hits. So this stuff is cranking out. It's a really big amount of research that's going on. Okay. Next step on our list here. How much, which ones, and how to read a label. Okay. How much do you think? It's going to be age dependent and weight dependent when you're younger. You're going to be taking less. But the average adult dose of those two fats that you want, the EPA and DHA, eicosapentaenoic acid, docosahexaenoic acid, 3,000 milligrams combined, okay? It should be in a 2 to 1 ratio, and almost all the formulas out there are 2 to 1. 2 to 1 EPA to DHA. Now, EPA is more anti-inflammatory. DHA is more pro-brain. You need both. As adults, we want more of the anti-inflammatory stuff, and we want to maintain the brain. Now, in children, you can flip-flop that. You can get actually a little bit more DHA, and you'll see a lot of children's formulas more in the DHA. But as an adult, you're going to get more of the EPA. Again, don't worry about those details. Any of those are better than none at all. But that's what you're going to see. Adult stuff, a little more EPA, and then children's stuff, a little more DHA, because the brain is growing and developing, okay? You want 3,000 milligrams of the combination of the two. So that's how much you want to be taking as a therapeutic dose. You can take more than that. Here is a precaution. This is a precaution. You always check with your doctor before you start taking any supplement whatsoever, particularly if you're on any medication. You want to make sure that there's no interaction between your medication and any supplement. Specifically with fish oil, if you're taking a blood thinner, check with your doctor before you take anything, okay? Now, if you're taking a blood thinner, your doctor will probably tell you you can take some fish oil, but maybe not as much as I'm describing here. You must check with your doctor, particularly if you're on blood thinners, okay? You know what's interesting is fish oil has mild blood thinning capabilities, so I wonder if somebody that has too thick of blood should, never mind. So anyway, check with your doctor before you start taking that. Okay, which ones? When you shop, don't shop by price. Clearly in omega-3s, you get what you pay for. If you buy a cheap store brand, because it's cheap, you're not going to get the right brand. Here's how we produce it. Let's say we catch a bunch of fish, we squeeze out the oil. Now we have the oil, we can package it up and sell it. Remember that there are residuals in that oil. Not so much in small fatty fish, way more in mercury and toxins and so forth in fish that live a lot longer and that are carnivores, such as tuna and swordfish and so forth, okay? So the smaller the fish, there are still some residuals. So you can take an extra step of that oil and do what is called molecular distillation. That's going to take out mercury, PCBs, heavy metals, and other contaminants. So you want to get a product that on the label it says independently tested, non-detectable traces of mercury, PCBs, and heavy metals, molecular distillation, pharmaceutical grade. Any one of a combination of those things, but specifically you want to say laboratory tested, no detectable traces of mercury, PCBs, heavy metals, other contaminants. The less expensive brands will not say that. Do not buy that. Spend the money, a little extra investment in you, and get the good stuff. There are many, many great brands available. I sell a few in my office. I've got a couple of liquids and a few gel caps. Now, why a liquid? Because you're just buying less packaging. Liquids are half the cost per dose of gel caps. However, you can't travel with liquid. Once you open up a liquid bottle, it's going to stay in the fridge until it's consumed. And if you open it up, if you haven't finished that bottle in 3 or 4 months, you're going to throw it away. Omega-3s are sensitive to oxidation, okay? So if you've had a bottle sitting in there for a year, it's got to go, throw it away, okay? Just like any other oils, just like an old olive oil, it's going to become rancid. over time. That's why you're going to see them in dark bottles, and the liquids always have to be stored in the fridge. Long-term storage is in the freezer. Some people leave and freeze it and let it just warm up a tiny bit in the morning just to pour some out and do it like that. You don't have to do that step, but make sure you consume it in 3 to 4 months, maximum 4 months, okay? Make sure you store the liquids in the refrigerator, and long-term storage of gel cap. Why not throw them in the fridge? Absolutely. I have both, so I take a liquid every day, but when I travel, I take gel caps. There's a reason for doing gel caps. Some people won't take liquid just because it's not pleasant. It's not like eating chocolate. Nope, not pleasant. But I do have finicky ADHD kids taking it right off the spoon. Most of it's flavored. And again, half the cost per dose. I also don't recommend taking fish oil without taking protective antioxidants. On my website, I have a newsletter. It's called Complete Omega-3 Cofactors. Cofactors. Cofactors mean that they go in association with fish oil. There's one supplement company, you can get this anywhere you want, one supplement company called Nutrirest. I've had their product for over 20 years. They have all of the following in one formula in the right constituents. Vitamin B2, B6, B9, B12, C, magnesium, selenium, glutathione, policosanol, CoQ10, and alpha-lipoic acid. All of those are protective antioxidants to fish oil. Personally, myself as a clinician, I do not recommend taking fish oil unless you take protective antioxidant in the right doses. Go to my website and you can look at that newsletter that will give you the right amounts of what you need, okay? Again, omega-3s, even if you take a good pure brand, it's still sensitive to heat, oxidation, free radicals, and so forth, okay? And that's a bad thing. So take those protective things. And on the back of a label, when you see the front part of a label of a fish oil container, if it says 1,000 milligrams on the front, you're not getting 1,000 milligrams. That's the entirety. Let's say it's a gel cap of 1,000 milligrams. That's all the oils that are in there, but that's not the stuff you're paying for. You got to flip it over and read the breakdown label. You have to look at those big words I said, EPA and DHA. You have to add those. And you might find that 2 gel caps gives you 500 milligrams of EPA and DHA combined together. If 2 gives you 500, 4 are going to give you 1,000, 12 gel caps are going to give you 3,000, you see? So for some people, a therapeutic dose would be 12 gel caps. In my office, I have more potent gel caps. For some people, they can take 5 or 6 to get the therapeutic dose. You follow? So that's why it kind of gets a little tricky taking gel caps or enough of them to get the job done. Again, smaller children are going to be taking less than that, okay? But you're going to be taking a lot of gel caps. Some people take 2 in the morning, 2 at lunch, 2 at night if they won't do liquid. For a lot of liquids, you can take maybe 2 teaspoons or 2.5 teaspoons. You take it once on the spoon, done for the day. So it's a lot easier to take the liquid. But again, there's the gel cap deal. But you have to read the back of the label, add up the EPA, DHA, and try to get your way to 3,000 milligrams. Okay. Last, so we talked about why you should take it, pretty compelling. We talked about the omega-6, omega-3 fat ratio. Get yourself tested. And there are ways to do that. You can look online and so forth. Dr. Google will show you how to do that. How much, which ones, and reading labels, okay? Lastly, results. We want to talk about results. So I'm going to just go through a list of people that have noticed results in my office. Before I bang through that list, on my website I've got wonderful testimonials on a variety of different things. Just remember on there, I've talked about this case, an 11-year-old boy with nonverbal learning disorder, dyslexia, dyspraxia, chronic illness, chronic headaches, unable to run. We did the chiropractic thing on him, the specialty coordination-based exercise, dietary changes, and of course supplements. One of the big ones was omega-3 fish oil with antioxidants. And the parents said regular adjustments with chiropractic and prescribed exercise along with a change of diet and nutritional supplements you have recommended have changed Evan's life. Again, one of them was the omega-3s. I talked about Michael when he was 7 years old, diagnosed with ADHD. I recommended high doses, they said high doses of fish oil, special exercise twice a day, chiropractic treatments twice a week. He responded so quickly, people thought he was on medication, solved ADHD, If you have a child with ADD, ADHD, autism, and you're working with a practitioner, talk to the practitioner on omega-3s, antioxidants, and the gut. Absolutely look at the gut. Look at the gut for building up your microbiome again in all of these cases. Something I'll do another show on that another time. And here's a group of people. Here's a woman when she was on fish oil, then she got off of fish oil because she ran out. She had a terrible flare-up of eczema, really bad, so bad she considered steroids. Went back on fish oil. 10 days later, the eczema was completely gone. A few years later, it happened again. She ran out, didn't get to my office to get the fish oil. Again, a bad flare-up of eczema, back on it again, and even other spots on her skin are now gone. 67-year-old man just told me this year in 2019, he had bilateral elbow pain from working out. He's a fitness guy. Since he started taking fish oil, his elbow pain is coming down. A person with a fairly significant advanced case of multiple sclerosis, when he's on fish oil, his self-care becomes a lot easier. If he does not take enough, his disability gets worse. Another woman in her 50s now said, my brain feels so good on this, meaning fish oil. Another woman said her cholesterol, watch this now, follow me. Her total cholesterol dropped from 450 to 200 in 6 months, and she got off her statin drug working with her medical physician by just taking omega-3 fish oil. I'm not saying that's going to work for you, but that was pretty impressive. A patient got off her depression drug working with her psychiatrist to get off that drug with a combination of fish oil, exercise, and dietary changes. Another woman now in her 70s said her triglycerides went from very high to normal with no other changes except for taking fish oil. A woman said it helped her digestion, skin, and inflammation. A man said it was blood work 2 years later and then improved considerably by taking fish oil, including better cholesterol, lower blood pressure. His sugar got better and his triglycerides came down. A woman said improved concentration and focus after taking fish oil only for a few days. A woman noticed her fingernails growing faster. You're going to see that in the next several people talking about this. Another woman, hair, fingernails grow faster and stronger. Another woman, fingernails grow faster with more energy and focus. Another woman said it helped her postpartum depression. That was 10 years ago. A man said it significantly decreased his knee pain, but it took 6 months for the benefits to kick in. So always give yourself a minimum of 3 months to notice if something you're working on is getting better. Most researchers believe, and I've seen this myself, that it takes at least 3 months for the omega-3s to get into the cell membranes and crank up that activity of each cell, maybe even 6 months like this case. An older man said it helped his digestion and he has less hand pain from arthritis with fish oil. That was 10 years ago. Another woman said fingernails grow faster and look better, hair growing faster, and chronic knee pain was improving. A man out of the blue said his sense of smell would improve, and I would think that that would be neuronal in the brain. And another case of a really fantastic athlete that I know in his 60s, his chronic knee pain from osteoarthritis improved with fish oil. I recommend taking it along with other changes in your lifestyle. Please let us know how it goes for you. I'm Dr. Scott Fuller. Please join me again.